My name is Naomi Fletcher. I'm 31. At 7:47 p.m. on Saturday, May 18th, I was standing in my mother's backyard with hot beef soup dripping from my hair onto my $340 dress, while my brother Ryan told 50 witnesses that I had exactly 15 minutes to leave his family forever. The soup was still steaming. I could feel it soaking through to my scalp, burning the skin behind my ears. Ryan stood 3 feet away, holding the empty ceramic bowl like a trophy. His face was flushed red, not from shame, but from what looked like satisfaction. Behind him, Kayla, my sister, had her phone out filming. Our mother Patricia sat frozen at the head table beneath the string lights, one hand pressed to her pearls. She didn't move. She never moved. "Did you hear me, Naomi?" Ryan's voice carried across the lawn. The live band had stopped playing. 15 minutes. That's more than generous considering what you tried to pull. I touched my face. My fingers came away smelling like beef broth and garlic. Someone near the grill, Uncle Martin, I think, coughed into his fist. Aunt Diane turned away completely, suddenly fascinated by the hydrangeas. "What did I try to pull?" My voice came out steady. That surprised me. Ryan laughed. It wasn't a real laugh. It was the sound he made when he wanted everyone to know he'd already won. "Don't play innocent. Grandpa's inheritance was meant for the whole family. You know that. We all know that. But you—" He pointed the bowl at me like a weapon. "You think because you're some hotshot surgeon that you're better than the rest of us. That you deserve it all." Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time it is there. Kayla stepped forward, lowering her phone just enough to speak. "Grandpa wouldn't have wanted this division, Naomi. He loved all of us equally." Her voice had that practiced sympathy she used when she wanted witnesses on her side. "But you've always had this need to be special. Even now." I looked at my father. Richard Fletcher sat next to my mother, his fork still in his hand, like the interruption was merely inconvenient. He met my eyes for exactly 2 seconds, then looked down at his plate. That was all I was worth. 2 seconds. "The will," I started. "The will," Ryan cut me off, "was written when Grandpa was sick, confused. Everyone knows that." He turned to the crowd, arms spread wide. "Harold Fletcher built a pharmaceutical company from nothing. He loved his family, all of his family. Does it make sense that he'd exclude his own son? His grandchildren who visited him every Sunday?" I felt something cold slide down my spine that had nothing to do with the soup. Every word he was saying was a lie, but he was saying it so confidently, with such wounded sincerity, that I could see people nodding. Mrs. Chen from next door, the Harrisons from my parents' bridge club, even my cousin Marcus looked uncertain. "We never visited on Sundays," I said quietly. "What?" Ryan's jaw tightened. "We didn't visit Grandpa on Sundays. I did, alone, for 8 years. You came twice, once for his 80th birthday, once for his funeral." Kayla's laugh was sharp. "That's not true and you know it. Stop rewriting history just because—" "I have the visitor logs from Meadowbrook." The words came out before I'd decided to say them. "The assisted living facility keeps records. Dated, signed, 8 years, Ryan, 347 visits. My name, just mine." The backyard went very quiet. Even the wind seemed to pause. Ryan's face changed. The flush deepened, spreading down his neck. "You always do this. You always make everything about you and your sacrifices." Poor Naomi, giving up her Sundays. Meanwhile, some of us were actually building businesses, supporting this family financially. "With what money?" I asked. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "What?" "Your business, the marketing firm. What money did you use to build it?" Patricia finally moved. She stood, smoothing her lavender dress with trembling hands. "This is my birthday party. Can we please not do this here?" "Mom's right," Kayla said quickly. "This isn't the time or place for whatever vendetta you're on, Naomi." But I was looking at Ryan, and Ryan was looking at me, and in that moment, I knew he knew that I knew about the tax fraud, about the fake invoices, about the $680,000 in marketing deductions with zero receipts, and the $420,000 in equipment that never existed. "You're out of the family," Ryan said. His voice was flat now, all the performance gone. "That's final. You have 15 minutes to leave this property." I stood there in soup-soaked hair and felt my phone buzz in my clutch. I didn't need to check it. I already knew what it said. The same thing it had said for the past 3 weeks. "Documents ready, waiting for your signal. MS." I picked up my purse from the grass where it had fallen. "Okay," I said. Ryan blinked. "What?" "Okay, I'll leave." I looked at my mother, still standing behind her birthday cake with its 53 candles. "Happy birthday, Mom!" I walked across the lawn. 50 people watched me go. No one said a word. Let me take you back 12 years to the moment everything changed. I was 19, home from my second year of pre-med. It was Sunday morning, 9:14 a.m., and the house smelled like my mother's hazelnut coffee and burned toast. I was supposed to meet friends at the mall, but Grandpa Harold had called the night before. "Come see me tomorrow, little star. I have jasmine tea and those almond cookies you like." Grandpa lived at Meadowbrook then, had been there for 3 years since Grandma died. The rest of the family said it was depressing to visit. Too many old people, too much medicine smell, too many wheelchairs in the hallways. But I didn't mind. Grandpa's room had a window overlooking the garden, and he always had stories about the pharmaceutical company he'd built in the 50s, about the polio vaccine trials he'd helped fund, about the time he'd met Jonas Salk. That morning, he was sitting in his leather chair, the one thing he'd brought from the old house. He poured tea into 2 porcelain cups, the set with the blue flowers that had belonged to my grandmother. "Your mother called yesterday," he said. "Told me Ryan's starting a business. Marketing. He needs capital." I added honey to my tea. "That's good. Ryan's always been entrepreneurial." "She wants me to invest. 50,000 to start." Grandpa's hands were steady as he lifted his cup. At 83, his mind was sharper than mine. "What do you think I should do?" "I don't know anything about business, Grandpa." "But you know Ryan." He looked at me over his glasses. "Does he finish things he starts?" I thought about Ryan's college applications. Started 5, completed 1. His guitar lessons, quit after 2 months. His promise to help Dad renovate the garage. Tools still in boxes. "Sometimes," I said, which was generous. Grandpa nodded slowly. "Patricia also mentioned you'll need money soon. Medical school applications, interviews, moving costs." He set down his cup. "I can't fund everyone, little star. The company shares are worth something now, and the trust fund is finite. When I'm gone, decisions will need to be made." "I'll get loans," I said immediately. "Medical school loans are normal. You should help Ryan. He's family." He smiled, but it was sad. "You're all family. That's the problem." He reached across the table and took my hand. His skin was paper thin, spotted with age. "Promise me something. When things get complicated, and they will get complicated, you'll remember who you are, not who they tell you you are. Can you promise me that?" I promised. I didn't understand then what he meant by complicated. 3 months later, Ryan got his 50,000. 6 months after that, Grandpa had the first stroke. The decline was fast. By Christmas, he couldn't walk. By February, he couldn't feed himself. By March, he was on oxygen full-time. The family visited once. Easter Sunday, all together, dressed nice for photos. Ryan brought flowers. Kayla brought chocolates Grandpa couldn't eat. Patricia cried and said how unfair it was. Richard stood by the window and checked his phone. I came every Sunday. Brought jasmine tea in a thermos. Read him articles from medical journals. Played Sinatra on my phone because the facility radio only played news. held his hand when he forgot who I was. On a Tuesday in June, the facility called. "You should come now," the nurse said. I was in the middle of an anatomy final. I left my exam on the desk and drove 90 miles in 73 minutes. I made it, barely. Grandpa was conscious, but his breathing was labored. The oxygen mask covered half his face. I took his hand. "Little star," he whispered. His voice was so quiet I had to lean close. "I fixed it. The will. They can't hurt you. Promise me you'll fight." "I promise," I said, even though I didn't know what I was promising. He smiled. "You're going to save lives. Don't let them make you small." He died at 4:17 p.m. I was holding his hand. The funeral was the following Saturday. 200 people came. Ryan gave the eulogy. He talked about Sunday visits and jasmine tea and Sinatra. He cried. People hugged him after, told him what a devoted grandson he'd been. I sat in the back and said nothing. The will reading was scheduled for Thursday. Attorney Marcus Shen's office, 2 p.m. The whole family came. Mom, Dad, Ryan, Kayla, even Uncle Martin and Aunt Diane. We sat in leather chairs around a mahogany table while Marcus opened a manila envelope. The will was 3 pages. Marcus read it aloud in that careful lawyer voice. The house went to Patricia, some jewelry to Kayla, a vintage car to Ryan, 10,000 to the church. Then came the pharmaceutical company shares, valued at $3.5 million, and the trust fund, $1.8 million, both to Naomi Fletcher, with explicit exclusion clauses for family members who demonstrated indifference during the benefactor's final years. The room went silent. Then Ryan stood up. "That's not right." Marcus looked up from the will. "I'm sorry?" "That's not right. Grandpa wouldn't do that. He loved all of us." Ryan's voice was shaking. "This is a mistake. Or Naomi influenced him. She was there every week. She manipulated him when he was sick." "Mr. Fletcher," Marcus said calmly, "your grandfather revised this will 14 months before his death. He was examined by 2 independent physicians who certified his mental competency. The exclusion clauses are based on documented behavior patterns observed over—" "Documented by who?" Kayla demanded. "By Naomi? This is insane. She gets everything just because she had more free time to visit?" Patricia was crying quietly. Richard had his arm around her. He looked at me. "Is this what you wanted, Naomi? To tear this family apart?" I couldn't speak. My throat had closed completely. "We're contesting this," Ryan said. He was breathing hard, his hands clenched into fists. "This is undue influence, elder abuse. We're getting a real lawyer." Marcus Shen gathered the papers. "That's your right, Mr. Fletcher. But I should inform you that Harold Fletcher anticipated this possibility. He left detailed documentation of his reasoning, including—" "I don't care what he left." Ryan turned to me. His face was red, ugly with rage. "You think you're so smart. You think because you're in medical school you're better than us. But you're nothing, Naomi. You're a selfish, manipulative nothing, and when we're done with you, everyone will know it." He left. Kayla followed. Patricia stood slowly, wiping her eyes. "I don't understand why you had to do this," she said to me. "He was my father." Then they were gone. Just me and Marcus Shen and the will on the table. "Are you all right?" Marcus asked. I shook my head. I wasn't all right. I wouldn't be all right for a very long time. The lawsuit was filed within 2 weeks. Undue influence, lack of mental capacity, breach of fiduciary duty. The complaint was 47 pages long. My name appeared on every page, always with words like manipulated and exploited and fraudulently induced. My parents stopped calling. When I called them, Patricia would answer and say she couldn't talk. Richard never answered at all. Kayla blocked my number. Ryan sent emails, long, detailed emails, explaining exactly what kind of person I was. Greedy, cruel, a snake who'd preyed on a dying old man. He sent those emails to everyone. My professors, my classmate, the hospital where I'd just started volunteering. One of my anatomy partners pulled me aside after class. Hey, I don't know what's going on with your family, but your brother's been calling the department. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I stopped going to family events, stopped calling, stopped trying to explain. What was the point? They'd already decided who I was. Medical school became my refuge. I threw myself into studying, into rotations, into anything that kept me away from home. In my third year, I matched into a cardiothoracic surgery residency at Pacific General Hospital. 70-hour weeks, 36-hour shifts. I was grateful for every minute. The lawsuit dragged on for 3 years. Depositions, discovery. Mediation attempts that went nowhere. Ryan's lawyers argued that Grandpa had been senile, that I'd isolated him from his family, that the will should be thrown out entirely, and the estate split evenly. Marcus Shen fought every motion. The will held. The exclusion clauses held. 2 courts affirmed Grandpa's mental capacity. Finally, in year 4, the judge ruled. The will was valid. The inheritance was mine. Ryan's legal fees had cost him $180,000. I thought it was over. I was wrong. Ryan's business collapsed 6 months after the lawsuit ended. The marketing firm he'd built with Grandpa's original $50,000 investment had been surviving on credit and fake invoices. When the IRS audited him, routine audit they said, random selection, they found $680,000 in marketing deductions with zero supporting documentation. Equipment purchases worth $420,000 that didn't exist. Client payments that were actually personal expenses. The audit turned into an investigation. The investigation turned into a civil fraud penalty, 75% of the underpaid taxes, and a criminal referral. Ryan declared bankruptcy. I found out from a Google alert I'd set up years ago, back when I wanted to know if he was still bad-mouthing me online. The bankruptcy filing was public record, $1.6 million in debt. The condo he'd bought in 2019, the Tesla, the timeshare in Cabo, all listed as assets for liquidation. I sat at my kitchen table and stared at that filing for 20 minutes. Then I called Marcus Shen. "I want to buy his debt," I said. There was a pause. "Naomi, that's not something I'd typically recommend." "Can I do it? Legally?" "Yes. Bankruptcy debt notes can be purchased by third parties, but..." "How much?" "For $1. $6 million in debt. You might acquire the note for 30 to 40 cents on the dollar, perhaps less, depending on the asset quality. But Naomi, if you do this, you become the creditor. You can enforce the debt, trigger acceleration clauses, foreclose on secured assets." He paused again. "This would not improve your relationship with your family." "I don't have a relationship with my family," I said. I bought the note for $510,000, 32 cents on the dollar. 90 days later, I triggered the acceleration clause. The full debt became due immediately. Ryan couldn't pay. I foreclosed on the condo and the car. He sent me one email after that. "You're not my sister anymore." I didn't reply. That was 8 months ago. In that time, I'd become the head of cardiothoracic surgery at Pacific General. I'd saved a CEO from a massive myocardial infarction. The media called me the heart whisperer. I'd been offered fellowships in Houston and New York. A pharmaceutical company had offered me a board seat, but I was still living in the same one-bedroom apartment I'd rented in medical school, still driving the same 2015 Honda, still eating takeout at my kitchen counter at midnight after 14-hour shifts, still alone. 3 weeks ago, Patricia called. I almost didn't answer. Her name hadn't appeared on my phone in 4 years. "Naomi?" Her voice was tentative, hopeful. "It's Mom." I waited. "I'm having a birthday party, the 18th. It's my 53rd, and I thought, well, your father and I thought maybe it's time to put all this behind us. As a family. Does Ryan know you're inviting me?" A pause. "Ryan will be fine. He's matured a lot. We all have." I should have said no. I should have made an excuse, on call, surgery scheduled, out of town, but some small, stupid part of me wanted to believe her. "I'll come," I said. I bought a dress. Navy blue, professional, $340 at Nordstrom. I had my hair done. I even practiced what I'd say if Ryan brought up the debt. I'm open to discussing a payment plan. I arrived at 7:30 p.m. The backyard looked beautiful. String lights hung between the trees, tables covered in white cloth, a live jazz band setting up near the fence. 50 people mingled on the lawn. I recognized most of them: neighbors, bridge club friends, family I hadn't seen in years. Patricia saw me first. She smiled, actually smiled, and waved me over. "Naomi, I'm so glad you came. Let me get you a drink." For 17 minutes, it felt almost normal. I talked to Aunt Diane about her garden. Uncle Martin asked about the hospital. Kayla even said hello, though she didn't quite meet my eyes. Then Ryan arrived. He walked straight to the buffet table, loaded a plate, and got a bowl of soup. I watched him scan the crowd. When his eyes landed on me, he stopped moving. He said something to Kayla. She looked at me and nodded. Ryan picked up his soup bowl and walked across the lawn. People moved out of his way. The conversations around me went quiet. "Naomi," he said. His voice was pleasant, almost cheerful. "I didn't know you were coming." "Mom invited me." "Did she?" He looked at the soup in his hands, then back at me. "Well, since you're here, I think we should clear something up about Grandpa's inheritance." My stomach tightened. "Ryan, I don't think this is the place." "Grandpa left that money for the whole family," he said loudly. Several conversations stopped completely. "Everyone here knows that. It was supposed to be divided equally, but Naomi decided she deserved it all. Didn't you, Naomi?" The will, specifically. The will was written when he was sick and confused, when you were manipulating him every Sunday, making him think we didn't care. "You didn't care," I said quietly. "You visited twice in 8 years." His smile never wavered. "You always have to be the victim, always have to make yourself look like the hero. But everyone here knows the truth. You're selfish, you're vindictive." He lifted the soup bowl slightly. "And you're not welcome at this family party." "Ryan," Patricia's voice was sharp. "Don't—" He poured the soup over my head. I felt it before I understood what was happening. Hot liquid soaking through my hair, running down my face, dripping onto my dress. The smell of beef and garlic. The shocked gasps from the people around me. "You've got 15 minutes to leave this family," Ryan said. That's where this story started. That was 20 minutes ago. Now I was sitting in my car 3 blocks from my mother's house with soup in my hair and Marcus Shen's number pulled up on my phone. I didn't call him. Instead, I opened my email and found the message he'd sent 3 weeks ago. Subject: Estate Discovery. H. Fletcher. "Naomi, during routine document organization for your inheritance tax filing, I discovered something in Harold's safe deposit box at First National. A sealed envelope addressed to you, marked, 'Open when ready.' I've read the contents. Attorney privilege requires it for estate purposes. You should know. Your grandfather prepared for this scenario extensively. The evidence he collected is comprehensive. When you're ready to move forward, I have everything organized. Public venue recommended. Maximum witnesses." He wanted the truth heard, not whispered. Marcus, I sat in that car for 10 minutes. Soup dripped onto my leather seats. My hands shook. Not from fear, from something else. Something that felt like a door opening that I'd kept locked for 4 years. I texted Marcus. "Tomorrow, we do it at Mom's party. Can you be ready?" 3 dots appeared. Then, "I've been ready for 12 years." The next evening, Sunday, May 19th, I drove back to my mother's house. The party was still going. Patricia had planned a weekend celebration, Saturday night dinner, and Sunday afternoon brunch. When I pulled up at 2:14 p.m., there were more cars than yesterday. 60 people, maybe 70. I parked on the street. Marcus pulled up behind me in his silver Mercedes. He got out carrying a leather briefcase, wearing a perfectly pressed gray suit. "You're sure about this?" he asked. I thought about Grandpa's hand in mine, about his last words, "Promise me you'll fight." "I'm sure." We walked across the lawn together, conversation stopped, heads turned. I saw Ryan near the grill, holding a beer. His face when he saw me, confusion, then anger, then something like satisfaction. He handed his beer to Kayla and walked over. "I told you to leave." "You did," I agreed. "But I forgot something." "What?" I opened my purse and pulled out a thick folder. The motion made everyone nearby go quiet. Ryan's eyes flicked to the folder, then to Marcus Shen. "Who's this?" Ryan asked. "Marcus Shen, Grandpa's attorney. You remember him." Ryan's jaw tightened. "What do you want, Naomi?" I looked around the backyard. 67 people. I counted, all watching. My mother stood near the dessert table, frozen with a serving spoon in her hand. My father sat at the main table, his newspaper forgotten. Kayla had her phone out again, filming. I said slowly, to tell everyone here the truth about Grandpa's inheritance." Ryan laughed. It sounded forced. "We all know the truth. You manipulated a sick old man." "Did I?" I opened the folder. "Because I have here the certification of mental competency signed by Dr. William Cross and Dr. Sheila Patel, two independent physicians who examined Grandpa Harold 14 months before he died. Both certified he was of sound mind, capable of complex reasoning, and understood the full implications of his estate planning decisions." I pulled out the first document and held it up. "This is dated March 2019. Grandpa's stroke wasn't until June 2020. He revised his will while he was completely healthy." "That doesn't prove," Ryan started. "This is the visitor log from Meadowbrook Assisted Living." I pulled out another document. 347 visits over 8 years, all signed by me. "Would you like me to read some of the dates?" Patricia stepped forward. "Naomi, please, this is my birthday." "It was your birthday yesterday too, Mom," when Ryan poured soup on my head in front of 50 people. I looked at her directly. "Did you say anything then?" She looked away. I turned back to Ryan. "You told everyone here that the inheritance was meant for the whole family, that Grandpa would have wanted it split equally. Is that right?" "Everyone knows it's right." "Then let me read you what Grandpa wrote." I pulled out a single sheet of paper. My hands were steady. "I, Harold Fletcher, being of sound mind, do hereby bequeath the entirety of my shares in Fletcher Pharmaceuticals and the Associated Trust Fund to my granddaughter Naomi Fletcher in recognition of her unwavering devotion during my final years and in acknowledgement of the profound indifference demonstrated by other family members." Silence. "It is my explicit intent," I continued, "that Richard Fletcher, Patricia Fletcher, Ryan Fletcher, and Kayla Fletcher receive no portion of these assets, as their absence during my decline spoke clearly of their priorities. This exclusion is deliberate, considered, and final." Ryan's face had gone white. He didn't know what he was writing. 2 doctors said he did. 2 judges agreed. I looked at the crowd. "And there's more. Because Grandpa didn't just leave me money. He left me information." I pulled out a new document. "This is a detailed investigation report compiled by a private firm Grandpa hired in 2018. He wanted to know why Ryan needed so much money for his business. Why he kept asking for more." Ryan took a step back. "You can't—" "The report documents extensive financial fraud," I said, my voice carrying across the lawn. "Fake vendor invoices, phantom equipment purchases, personal expenses deducted as business costs, over $1, $1 million in fabricated deductions." "That's a lie," Ryan said. His voice cracked. Marcus Shen stepped forward. "It's not a lie, Mr. Fletcher. The IRS confirmed it. That's why you declared bankruptcy." The crowd was completely silent now. Even the wind had stopped. "And here's what I did," I said quietly. "I bought your bankruptcy debt, $1.6 million for $510,000. I'm now your primary creditor, which means I own the note on your condo, your car, Every asset you pledged as security. Kayla's phone was still recording. I could see her hand shaking. But that's not why I'm here, I continued. I'm not here to gloat. I'm here because you told me yesterday that I had 15 minutes to leave your family. You poured soup on my head in front of everyone and told me I was selfish and vindictive. You said Grandpa's inheritance was meant for everyone. I pulled out the final document. This is a letter Grandpa wrote to me. It was sealed in his safe deposit box with instructions to Marcus to give it to me when she's ready. I unfolded it carefully. The paper was yellowed slightly at the edges. Grandpa's handwriting, precise, careful, filled the page. I'm going to read it now, I said. All of it. Ryan lunged forward. Don't you dare! Marcus stepped between us. Mr. Fletcher, if you touch her, I'll have you arrested for assault. Ryan stopped. His hands were shaking. I began to read. Dear little star, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And Ryan is already doing what I knew he would do. He's telling everyone the inheritance should have been split equally. He's saying I was confused, manipulated, too sick to know what I wanted. He's making you the villain. I'm sorry I couldn't stop this while I was alive. I tried to talk to him, to your father, to Patricia. They don't hear reason. They only hear what they want to believe, that they're entitled to the fruits of my labor simply because they share my blood. Do you remember the Sunday mornings? The jasmine tea? You told me once you came because you wanted to, not because you had to. That's the difference, Naomi. You chose to love me. They chose to wait for me to die. The original documents are with Marcus at his office, 847 Northwest 23rd Avenue. He has copies of everything. The certified mental competency evaluations, the visitor logs proving your dedication, the private investigation documenting Ryan's fraud, witness statements from my colleagues and neighbors, bank records showing every dollar I gave Ryan and how he spent it, a video recording I made explaining my decisions. Marcus has the only copy. I also set aside $200,000 in a separate account under Marcus's management. It's for your legal fees when Ryan sues you. Because he will sue you. He'll claim undue influence, exploitation, manipulation. He'll drag your name through every court in the state. Let him. The truth is documented. The law is on your side, and you are stronger than he can imagine. You're not selfish. You're not manipulative. You're the woman who gave up Sunday mornings for 8 years to keep a lonely old man company. You're the woman who read medical journals to someone who could barely hear them. You're the woman who held my hand when I died. You're the woman who's going to save lives. Don't let them make you small, little star. You promised me you'd fight. I love you. I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry I won't be there to see the incredible surgeon you're going to become. All my love, Grandpa Harold P.S. There are 38 chocolate almond cookies in the blue tin in Marcus's office safe. They're freeze-dried. They'll last forever, like my love for you. My voice broke on the last sentence. I folded the letter carefully and looked up. 67 people stared back at me. Some had tears on their faces. Mrs. Chen was openly crying. Uncle Martin had his hand over his mouth. Aunt Diane was looking at Ryan like she'd never seen him before. My mother stood completely still, the serving spoon still in her hand. So here's the truth, I said. My voice was steady again. The inheritance wasn't stolen. It was earned. Grandpa knew exactly what he was doing. He knew you'd react this way, Ryan. He knew you'd lie and manipulate and try to make me the villain. That's why he documented everything. That's why he left me the evidence. Ryan's mouth opened. No sound came out. I'm not here for revenge, I said. I'm here because you told me to leave my family. And I realized something last night. You're right. I should leave. Because you're not my family anymore. You haven't been for a long time. I looked at my mother. Mom, you invited me here to put it behind us. But you let Ryan pour soup on my head and said nothing. You chose him, again, like you always have. Patricia's face crumpled. Naomi, I don't need your apology. I needed you to defend me. Once. Just once. I turned to my father. Dad, you taught me to be fair, to work hard, to earn what I have. I did exactly that, and you couldn't even look at me yesterday. Richard's hands trembled on his newspaper. I looked at Kayla. And you filmed it. You were going to post that video online, weren't you? Let everyone see Ryan humiliate me? Kayla lowered her phone. I'm done, I said. I'm done trying to prove I'm good enough for this family. Grandpa was my family. Marcus has been more family to me than any of you in 4 years. The people at my hospital who've supported me through residency, they're my family. I put the letter back in the folder. Ryan, the debt stands. You can make payment arrangements through Marcus's office. Mom, Dad, I hope you had a nice birthday celebration. Kayla, don't post that video. I have legal counsel. I turned to leave. Wait. Ryan's voice was strange, hollow. I stopped but didn't turn around. The $1.1 million, he said slowly. The fraud investigation. How long did Grandpa know? I looked back at him. 3 years before he died. He knew before he gave you the original $50,000. He gave it to you anyway because Patricia begged him. He hoped you'd prove him wrong. And when I didn't, he made sure I had everything I needed to survive what you'd do to me. Ryan sat down heavily on the nearest chair. His face was gray. I walked across the lawn. Marcus followed. Behind us, I heard someone say, Jesus Christ. Someone else. All this time. A third voice, maybe Uncle Martin. Ryan, what the hell have you done? We got to the car. I put the folder on the passenger seat and just stood there, breathing. You okay? Marcus asked. No, I laughed. It came out shaky. But I will be. He handed me a small blue tin. These are from your grandfather's safe. He was serious about the cookies. I opened it. 38 perfectly preserved almond cookies, individually wrapped. The smell of almonds and vanilla hit me like a memory. I sat in my car and cried for the first time in 4 years. 6 weeks later, Ryan's condo sold at foreclosure auction. The proceeds covered 40% of his debt. He signed a payment plan for the rest, $800 a month for 15 years. Kayla called me once. I didn't know, she said. About what Grandpa left you. About what Ryan did. You filmed it, I said. I know. I'm sorry. Okay, I paused. I'm not ready to see you yet. Maybe someday. She didn't call again. My parents sent a letter, Patricia's handwriting, Richard's signature. It said they loved me, that family was complicated, that they hoped I could forgive Ryan in time. It didn't say they were sorry for what they'd done. It didn't say they'd been wrong. I didn't respond. Marcus Shen became my executor, my attorney, and my friend. We had dinner once a month, always Italian, always his choice of restaurant. He told me stories about Grandpa that I'd never heard, about how Harold had called him the day before he died and said, "Take care of my girl. She's going to need you." Work consumed me. I performed a successful quadruple bypass on a senator's wife. 5 hours of surgery, 0 complications. The pharmaceutical company board seat came through. I accepted. I used part of the inheritance to establish the Harold Fletcher Memorial Fund for medical students who had to work full-time while studying. The first year we gave out 40 scholarships. The second year 63. I bought a house, nothing extravagant. A small 2-bedroom with a garden in the back. I planted jasmine. One Sunday morning, almost exactly a year after the party, I drove to Meadowbrook. Grandpa's grave was in the cemetery next door, under an oak tree. The headstone was simple. Harold Fletcher, 1937 to 2020, beloved grandfather. I sat on the grass and opened the blue tin. 31 cookies left. I fought, I said out loud, like I promised. The wind rustled the oak leaves. Ryan's paying back the debt, not because I need the money, I don't, but because you taught me that actions have consequences, that integrity matters. I ate one cookie. It tasted exactly like I remembered. I miss you, I said. I miss our Sundays. I miss your stories. I miss the way you called me little star. I wiped my eyes. But I'm okay. I'm saving lives. I'm not letting them make me small. A cardinal landed on the headstone, bright red against gray marble. I hope you're proud, I whispered. The cardinal flew away. I sat there for another 20 minutes, then drove home to my house with jasmine in the garden and Sunday mornings that belonged to me. If you're watching this and you've ever had to walk away from people who should have protected you, I want you to know something. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. And sometimes the family that matters most is the one that shows up. Silence isn't peace. Silence is the price you pay to keep everyone else comfortable. And your comfort matters too. If you've ever been the one who tried harder, loved longer, stayed quieter, type, I see you in the comments. Or if you're still figuring out when it's time to leave, type, still learning. Both are valid. Both are brave. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here.